public defender. The public defender is a public servant employed by the community and responsible for giving legal aid without cost to any person who seeks it and is financially unable to employ private counsel. It is his duty to defend those accused of crime until the issue is decided in a court of law. The case you're about to see started out as a 3-line news item on page 16 of the largest newspaper in the city and ended up with headlines on page 1.
I didn't do anything?
Sure, just like you didn't do anything a couple of years ago. How about this?
I bought that watch yesterday.
Why aren't you wearing it? It's a wristwatch.
I bought it for a present for a friend.
Come along, Foley. You'll get your chance to tell the judge about it.
Please, let me
go.
I didn't do anything.
Get in.
What were you doing at that jewelry counter, Ray?
I was looking at a watch. There was a sale on and I needed one.
Lieutenant Hanson reports that he saw you pocket a watch.
That's not true. I had enough money to buy one. I was going to buy one. Then I saw Hanson, and I remember what he did to me last time.
What about that signed confession, Ray? The district attorney will introduce that as evidence.
I had to sign that, Mr. Matthews. Hanson beat me until I did. Look here and here. Hanson's fist did that. He cuffed me all around that room till I couldn't see. I didn't know what I was doing. He wouldn't let me go until I signed it.
Well, wasn't there another officer present during the questioning?
For a while, then he went out for some coffee. I saw Hanson give that other detective the high sign. He wanted him to leave so he could be alone with me, so he could make me confess.
I'll see what I can do, Ray.
Believe me, Mr. Matthews, I didn't try to steal anything. Get me a trial soon. Let the judge and jury see what Hanson did to me. That confession doesn't mean a thing.
There were several puzzling factors about the Foley case, but my only concern was to defend my client against the charges that were brought against him. Oh, Ed, what's on your mind?
Read my paper today?
Oh, I haven't had time.
Read that building fraud article. We've got those contractors dead to rights.
Yeah, nice work, Ed. I'll have to read it later. I got too much on my mind now.
Like, Ray Foley?
Like Foley and about a dozen others. What's your interest in Foley?
He sneaked this letter out with a prisoner who was released last night. The editor got it this morning. It's big news, Bart. Police brutality has no place on the American scene. The boss wants to splash it front page. Let's work on it together.
I don't like this any more than you do, Ed. If it's true.
It's true, all right. The police department has rights, but they don't include beating confessions out of prisoners. Now, let's cooperate on this, and we can bring that strong-arm stuff right out into the open and have a few guys like Hanson fired off the force.
My job is to defend Foley, not to prosecute a member of the police department for alleged brutality.
Alleged? I just saw that kid. Hanson beat that confession out of him.
Possibly. But it's my client's word against Hanson's.
Don't be naive. Foley isn't the first one to be forced into signing a confession. The DA will dangle it in front of the jury, and that poor kid will be sent to the joint for 10 years.
If Foley is innocent of that shoplifting charge and he was coerced into signing that confession, he'll go free.
How?
By getting the proof.
Well, that's why I'm here, Bart. Now, we can work together on this. The newspaper will give us all the help we need.
I don't like this, Williams. I don't want you to make any unsubstantiated charges. I've always worked with the police department, and I intend to maintain a good relationship. This would kill it.
A good relationship with a bunch of sadists.
Not a bunch, a few rare exceptions. No, Ed, I'm not going to work with you. I'm not going to let you use the public defender's office to sell your newspapers.
Okay, I'll do it myself. Take a look at the front page tomorrow.
Hold it, Ed. Now, my advice is to be careful. There are laws that protect citizens, even policemen, from slander and libel. Now, this front page could cost your newspaper a lot of money. I understand legal fees come pretty high outside of the public defender's office.
I'll take my chances.
My next move was to investigate Foley's charges of a coerced confession.
That's all. Now, Mr. Matthews. Foley. Here it is. I mugged him at 8:15 that night.
How long did it take?
Oh, just a few minutes.
I had a copy made from the file. This the one you took?
Looks like it.
There were no cuts or lacerations on his face?
Camera doesn't lie. That's the way he looked when he walked in here.
Uh-huh. And where would he go after he left here?
Up to the 3rd floor to get dressed in.
Thanks.
Oh, wait a minute. Lieutenant Hanson was waiting for him. I think he took him to his office for questioning.
Thanks.
Next man. Wipe that smile off your face.
I took Foley in at 9:50.
Now, let's see. That would mean he was in with Lieutenant Hanson for an hour and a half.
Well, I wouldn't know about that. They send him up here, I put him away.
What was Foley's condition when you took him into the cell?
Condition? He looked sober to me.
No, I mean his face. Was it cut, bleeding?
Why all the questions?
Well, it's Foley's contention that Hanson forced him into signing a confession, used his fist to get it. Now, how was Foley's face when you took him into that cell?
I didn't notice. It was dark. I just took him back to Tank 3 Easy and locked him up. Why don't you ask the lieutenant?
Now, Foley said that he asked for hospital care.
That's right.
And what time was that?
11:10. I sent a trustee up with him.
Well, did you happen to notice how his face looked when he came out of the cell?
I didn't notice.
Oh, thanks. Thanks very much.
Yes, sir, I remember Foley. I took care of him.
What was his condition?
Very badly beaten up. Cuts, bruises.
Well, what would you say was the cause of the wounds?
Apparently a fight.
What about his hands? Were there any knuckle bruises, as if he had fought back?
No, I don't think so. There's no indication of it here.
Well, thank you, nurse. You've been very helpful.
You're welcome.
Now, they took you to the tank at 9:50. The jailer has no recollection that your face was marked.
He wouldn't. He's a cop. They're all alike. They stick together.
Now, why did you wait until after 11 o'clock before asking for hospital treatment?
Well, I thought the bleeding would stop, but it didn't. It began to hurt, and I couldn't sleep.
Uh-huh. Now, 2 years ago, you were arrested by Hanson for stealing a car. How did you plead? Guilty?
Yeah. I was running around with a couple of fellows. I didn't know any better. But I haven't done anything like that since. Up until a couple of weeks ago, I've been working at the factory. I got laid off, but they promised to call me back.
And how did Hanson treat you at the time of that arrest?
Rough. He pushed me around plenty. He didn't have to. I told him I was guilty, but that didn't stop him.
Now, there were 3 men in that cell when you came in. They could witness the fact that you were cut and bleeding. If we could find them, but they've all been released. Transients.
Well, what do you want them for? Get me a trial soon. Let the judge and jury see what Hanson did to me. One look at me and they'd know he forced me to sign that confession.
I'd rather have the proof. I'll talk to you again, Ray. Excuse me, Lieutenant Hanson?
That's me.
Public Defender's Office.
What can I do for you?
Well, I'd like to talk to you alone, if you don't mind.
Sure. Come back a little later, Pete. We'll go over the rest of it then. What's on your mind?
I'm representing Ray Foley.